Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. We are talking to you guys today about a post that Joy put up around the reasons as to why she is not with Jay. She actually didn't give any particular reason, but what she did do was counteract the notion that her and Jay didn't get together because of her grief. And so we're going to break it down in her post, do a little bit of a dramatic reading as always, and then begin to dissect the actual subject. So guys, if you are new to the channel, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, well, you already know the motto, baby. You got the minerals, you got the minerals. Alright, let's get into the video. And let me just say, obviously this particular video, you can see Joy is here looking sultry in her photo. And first thing I saw was, okay, this looks like almost like a rebrand, because on the show she is put as this put together saint church lady who has always got decorum, grace, and class, and so this photo almost, I mean, this photo is still pretty classy. It's a little bit, I wouldn't even say raunchy. It's just showing a bit of leg, and I think it's I failed to say rebrand, but more of a case of almost to kind of change a little bit of the motto in terms of the narrative. And I don't know if this is maybe a part of it. I may be wrong, but sometimes what happens is a bit like Ayesha Curry, when her narrative was simply Ayesha Curry, the great mum, Ayesha Curry, the woman that is the wife of Steph Curry, and then you start seeing the changeover of her photos to being a bit more skin, new hair colors, a bit more sexy photos, her being almost intimate with Steph, and you see that because there's a rebranding of who you see me as, and sometimes people don't want to be seen as X, Y, and Z. And so I don't know if this photo is out of place, I guess, out of all the things, but it's not out of place, but it's odd, you know what I mean? Because obviously we haven't seen a side of Joy. Yeah, I'm seeing pure leg, but again, it still looks classy, still looks within reason. I would say it's a good photo. It's a very professional photo, and there's nothing wrong with it. Again, I'm just kind of alluding to the fact that we know what certain photos do. They draw in a certain audience. Let's keep it 100% trill and real, baby. All right, cool. Let's get into it. Let's do a dramatic reading of her post. So Joy says in her post, in the words of Ella May, my resting face is mistaken for the mean girl. But what if I told you there's nothing I want more in this world than somebody who loves me naked, somebody who never asks for love but knows how to take it? And that's Ella May's song. I've never actually heard it, but anyway. Being naked to me means exposing the very parts of me that everyone does not see. My fears, my vulnerability, secrets, pain, joy, and most importantly, love. So over the past few months, I've lived my dating life very publicly on television and left everyone to draw their own conclusions about what and whom is best for me. And despite me having to leave Ready to Love so abruptly, my grief was not, and I want to say this, repeat again, was not the source of why Jay and I were not together. You see, sometimes it is hard to detach from someone when you are grieving and that person is a source of comfort. But then you have to begin to separate the grief from the actuality of the situation. The day after the reunion was filmed in December, I made a decision to not be romantically involved with Jay for a number of reasons, which are not for the public's consumption. And I'm honored that so many of you wanted to see a love connection for the two of us, but that's not where God, given discernment, has led me. And this is not an attack. My voice is my own, and I'm ready to love. Absolutely. But only the man that God has for me. Hashtag ready to love. Hashtag Joy is ready to love. Hashtag what is God has for me. Hashtag God is in control. Hashtag naked. Hashtag love naked. Hashtag peace. Hashtag joy. Hashtag finding joy. Okay, I just did that for balance. But so so obviously she put this post up, which is about 7 days ago, and I was meant to do a video a little bit earlier than that, but I got a bit distracted. And there's a number of things I want to really point out about this particular post. Number one, is the contrast she brought towards being naked intrinsically versus being naked on the screen, or being physically naked. So she's not naked here, but she's showing a bit of thigh, right? And so there's a contrasting of themes here, or I should say, contrasting of what she's alluding to. So she's talking about intrinsic nakedness while showing us something you want to call it a naked photo. I'm not saying it actually is. But it's almost like sometimes people put up these, like, for instance, like if I wanted to get away with putting a half naked photo on my Instagram, just so that my Christian people don't get at me, I might put an inspirational quote on there. It's like, oh my gosh, guys, I've worked so hard to get to the point where I am, where I can, happily, take my top off. I struggled for a long time in my life to be able to do this, and now finally I'm here. So sometimes people put these inspirational quote conversations in there, in the comment section or the description box of their photos to almost justify the photo being up. Listen, I ain't got no beef. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but it feels a little bit like that, and it's almost like again, swaying away from the notion that Joy is not the good girl. Like, so it's almost as if to say, hey, y'all don't put me in that category, okay? I know you saw the grace and the decorum and the way that I carried myself, but I want to let you know, Joy isn't all. Joy isn't all the god woman who does not have fun, who doesn't know how to keep it classy while keeping it sexy. I want to make sure because this attracts a certain type of person. When you allude to a certain narrative about yourself and present yourself in a certain way, it leads to a certain type of man approaching you. It leads to a certain audience being able to click with you, etc., etc., and thus goes on. So people relate to you based on what you show. And so I don't know, maybe I was thinking, maybe a part of this, I might be thinking a bit too deep. It's a little bit of rebranding, a little bit of hey, don't think I'm just this prune. I'm not. I'm a different type of gal. You understand? Yeah. And so also as well, one thing that she said, obviously, the first thing I want to note is that the song lyrics quoting of LMA seem to be also, again, an attachment to the reunion. So like when she says, obviously, my resting face, it's mistaken for the mean girl. And I think this alludes not only to just the reunion when she had that face on, but actually maybe the fact that there's a lot of chat in the corridors about the fact that Joy is not the angelic type of gal, and maybe this is not just for us ready to love people. This may be to other people. Maybe other people do feel she has a RBF, you know what I'm saying, and maybe they've encountered her character, and maybe she's not as we have seen on the screen. Maybe she's not as polished as we got to see her on the screen, and maybe this is a shot to them, right? But it was a bit odd to use that kind of thing. But I guess obviously the main part she wanted to probably focus on was that the part where she says, I want more in this world than somebody who loves me naked, somebody who never asks for love but knows how to take it. So again, I think this post is about love, self-love, etc., etc. as well. But it's just interesting that she left the words, my resting face is mistaken for the mean girl, right? Because she could have taken it out and just left it as, but what if I told you there's nothing, I want more? So that's a very conscious thing to leave in there. So that's aimed at somebody, right? I'm not saying who, but I'm telling you. You understand? So that's something I want to point out. Let me point out another thing as well. I think obviously as well, it's interesting that obviously that she counteracted the narrative around herself and Jay. Now, if you guys saw my interview with Jay, he was alluding to the fact that the reason why they're not together is because he didn't want to be the superhero in a life during a grief situation, that people can sometimes bond, but it's not the right type of bonding because the person's not in the right space, they're not in the right mind frame to be able to really pursue a relationship. So he was alluding to the fact that due to the grief, they ain't together. But she here is counteracting that truth and saying and she made it very, very clear. I mean, it is not because it's not because that. She says, despite me having to leave Ready to Love so abruptly, my grief was not the source of why Jay and I are not together. So it's like letting everybody know, listen, hey, I know you've been seeing a narrative about the reason why me and Jay are not together. That is not it. But then she goes on further and to say sometimes, even after that, she says, obviously the reason why they're not together, okay, is not for public consumption. So something obviously has happened, which is, not maybe not palatable for the audience to know as to why not together. But she makes it very clear that that is not the narrative. And it's interesting again because she put up this post to counteract that narrative. So it's obviously something that's been, flying around in her peripherals and has been heard maybe several times. And so this part of the post is to address those rumors. But it must be something that also as well, maybe it's annoying. Maybe it's annoying that she keeps hearing this, and maybe because she's like, actually, that's not my reasoning. That's really not my reasoning. And again, this post, there's some subtle shades in there which we're going to pick up upon as well. I mean, she even the use of personal pronoun. She says I. Okay, so basically saying a decision when she goes the day after. She goes. She puts in this personal pronoun where she goes. Where is it? The day after the reunion. It says the day after the reunion. The day after the reunion was filmed in December. I made a decision not to be romantically. So here, she's taken all the power from it being a we or even a Jay decision, because obviously Jay was saying obviously because of the grief he made a decision. It's almost saying I'm not allowing you to have that power. I'm going to take that power from you and say no, that's not the narrative. I decided not to be romantically involved with you. Okay, I decided this. Okay, and there are a number of reasons for this which are not for public consumption. So what she's done is actually wrestled back the power. Hey, this is not the narrative. Let me feed you the narrative. Okay, and this is what I always say to people: like, you have to read the words people put. This is a wrestling of the narrative, and obviously clearly it's annoying. And the reason why I'm saying that is because why address it at all? Because the narrative, if the narrative was because of the grief, that's why you're not together. Okay, what's the problem with that? Because the reason why I'm guessing Jay probably said that, because that is not the truth. We all know that's not really the truth. And probably the reason why he said that is to cover what, people do things when they love the person or care for the person, they want to cover them so it's respectful. But here, this is just, it's still respectful. It's just making us aware, hey, there's more to the story. I'm just respectfully trying to honor the other person by letting you know subtly that ain't how it went down. Okay, and so that's a really important thing to kind of notice as well. And then she labels the decision as God's discernment not to go with Jay. So this is now okay. So God's discernment pushed her to a point where she's realizing Jay's not the one. And I say this as well because as Christians we do have discernment, and God does prompt us and let us know whether the person we're in with is a good choice or not. And it's up to us oftentimes up to us to really adhere to those warnings and promptings, right? But again, it's interesting that she labeled it as God's discernment not to go with Jay, and not to say it was a decision to make. And so sometimes it's like I got those promptings to go, and that for me tells me that maybe there was inklings at the very beginning when they met that this was not going to work. Maybe God was speaking from early. And then if you notice as well, she ends the actual post by saying, "This is not an attack. My voice is my own." And this is why I said about wrestling power back. When someone else forms a narrative, it feels like somebody else is in control and therefore they have the power. And I think that's a major issue for Joy, that he can't have the power. Not that she's a power hungry person, but she doesn't want him to have him or the audience to have this narrative. She wants to be able to shape it, and that's a very conscious thing that somebody does. Just being to keep it real. Like I said, the narrative didn't make you ugly. The narrative didn't make you unattractive. The narrative didn't make you look bad. The narrative didn't make you look like you were not a good catch. The only thing about the narrative was it was saying that you weren't ready to love due to your emotional state. Do you get me? And so I have a feeling that once she got speaking to, because obviously I saw a live after where her and Winter were talking to, they called Naya. And it looked like they were having a ball of fun. And I wonder if her conversations with Winter, especially when we saw in a reunion how she said, I want to hear from Winter, whether Winter really spilled the beans of what really, really, really happened. And that caused her to really make a decision. Like she said, there were several things that happened. Make a decision that I am not going to go with Jay, And so the whole statement is unraveling, but seemingly giving away nothing. It's, it's not disrespectful. It's respectful, kind of letting you know respectfully that that's not how it went down. And so I think with Jay and Joy, we kind of knew that they were gonna have issues when we saw them in a reunion, especially when Jay had multiple women that he was dating, and obviously Joy was surprised by that. So it's nothing new. It's just that it's, I guess, obviously that post that let me know about somebody wants to wrestle the narrative. They didn't like the narrative that was created for them, and they're letting us know gently, hey, that is not how it went down. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, guys, let us know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think? If you liked what I've said, agreed, like, share, subscribe. If you feel differently, comment down in the comment section. Don't leave it spare, baby. Appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded.